Hello, this is Patricia with the Crazy Cat Lady Crochet and Crafts. I hope you are doing well today. In this video, I would like to show you how I crocheted this Christmas stripe placemat. First of all, I've been using Red Hearts, just Red Hearts white yarn. It's the Super Saver Red Heart. That's for the background. For the red, I chose Red Heart Cherry Red. And for the green, I chose Red Heart Patty Green. This placemat, as I crocheted it, measures approximately 17 inches wide and 12 inches deep. So it's a 17 by 12. And if those measurements aren't the measurements that you would like your placemat to be, then just go ahead and make your adjustments as you crochet the pattern. I just happened to crochet it the same size as a placemat I had on the table. For this project, I grabbed a 4mm hook and some scissors. You're also going to need a needle to weave in your ends later when you get finished. But I'll show you how I weave in my ends as I crochet. Some of you probably already do this. So, the first thing that we're going to do, let me clear that out of the way, is, of course, the slip knot. Just go ahead and wrap the yarn around your fingers. And then I tuck that yarn in back, and holding the short end, I pull and stick my hook in the loop. You don't want to tighten it up too tight because you want your chain stitches to be loose. And for my size placemat, I chained 46 stitches. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then once I got to, oopsie, hope that didn't make you sick. Once I got to 46 stitches, there's 46 of them, then I count back 2 stitches and insert my hook into the second stitch from the hook. Don't count this stitch, but 1, 2. So we're going to do half double crochets to the beginning, so go ahead and wrap the yarn around your hook and then insert your hook into that stitch, wrap around again, pull through, wrap around again. Now you have 3 loops on your hook and pull through. So wrap, insert into the stitch, wrap again, insert, pull, wrap again, and pull through all 3 loops. And we're going to do this back to the other end of this chain. And once I get to the back end of the starting chain, back to the start of the starting chain, and that's a mouthful, I will come back on and tell you the next thing to do. Here we are nearing the end of the first row of half double crochets. I just have a few more stitches to go. this is the last stitch. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to chain 1. That's just my favorite way of turning to make sure that my edges stay straight. And then you should have 44 stitches in your row 1. So we got your starting chain, and then we have chain 1, your first row. So chain in your first row. After you get done with your first row, you should have 44 stitches. And then we're going to chain 1, turn, and start in the first stitch. Don't skip a stitch, just start in the first stitch. And then we're going to half double crochet. We're going to do this half double crochet 44 stitches, chain 1, turn, 44 stitches, chain 1, and turn. We're going to do that for 6 rows. And then after we have half double crocheted 44 stitches for 6 rows, we're going to do a color change into the color red. So once I get done with the 6 rows, I will come back and I will show you how I do my color change and also crochet in my ends as I go. So here we are approaching the end of row 6 of our half double crochets. This stitch right here is going to be your last stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and stop. Stop right there. Grab your red yarn and slip it over your hook. What I do is I make sure the short end of the yarn is facing me. And then we pull it through. And then with the working end, chain 1 and turn. Now what I do is I bring up the red yarn tail and I bring up the white yarn. See, I've got the red working yarn, the red tail, and then the white yarn. I know it seems a little bit complicated just talking about it, but it's not, because if it was complicated, I wouldn't be able to do it. Let me tighten that loop up. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over with the red. And we're going to insert our hook into that first stitch. If I can catch it. And then after you insert the yarn, go ahead and make sure your short end of the yarn and the white yarn are caught up between your hook and your crochet rows. So then we're going to wrap our yarn around the hook. See how the yarn, the red and the white, is caught up in there? And we're going to finish off the stitch. So yarn over, insert, and then making sure the red and white yarn are caught up between the yarn and your rows. Finish the stitch. And this is how I weave in my tails as I go. If you opt not to do this, that's fine. I just personally don't care to sew in sew in ends if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my scissors. I'm just going to snip off the end of that white yarn. Pull some more red yarn out. Then we're going to finish up crocheting in the white yarn. Oops. Forgot to, so you might have to manually put the tail in between. There we go. So, see? I myself like that look. I'll cut it off right there. If you don't care for that look, then just ignore that step and continue. So after we get the tails crocheted in, we're going to do one row of the red. So we'll have one row of 44 half double crochet stitches. And once I get done with this row of red, we'll be back. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a color change over to white. The same way that we did red. And I'll be right back with you. Here we are. Now we are nearing the end of the red row. So we just have I just have a few more stitches to go. And there's your last stitch right there. Remember, we're just going to insert, wrap around, pull through, and stop right there. Then we're going to take our white yarn and make sure the short end is facing you. And then pull it through. And wrap the white yarn around your fingers. Chain one and turn. And we're going to grab the red yarn with that short white yarn. And then we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch. Wrap around, pull through, wrap around, pull through all 3 loops. And then just keep doing the same thing. So with the white yarn, we're going to do 44 stitches down to the other end of the row. After we get done with our 44 stitches of white, we're going to do a color change over to green. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to be crocheting the white. I think I've got enough for the red crocheted in. I don't have to worry. Just pull that tight. Pull that through. And I'm going to cut off those ends. And I'll be back when I'm done with the white. Now we are nearing the end of the red. And I just wanted to come back on and show you that right here is where we crocheted in the red and white yarn. And except for this fuzziness that we're going to crochet over here in a minute, to me, I can't tell that we did it there. But we're going to crochet over that fuzziness with the white yarn. Fingers got all wound up in the yarn. There we go. Now we're coming on the last stitch of the white. And get it all. I only got one loop. Let's go for 2 this time. There we go. You'll stop right there. Grab your green yarn. Try and grab a bunch of it so I don't have to stop. Now, just like before, make sure your short end is facing you. The reason I do that is because it makes it easier to crochet it in if you don't have to cross over to the front. Because you're already going to have to cross over the front of a little bit of the front with the previous color. Like in this case, it'll be white. So chain 1, and grab the green, and tighten down the white, hold those in place, then insert to the first stitch. Make sure you've got the green and white yarn sandwiched in between. And then pull through. And just tighten those yarns up as you go along. I like to do it right away. You can do it afterwards if you like. And I think we'll do one more time, one more stitch, and then we'll cut the white off. Now I have to put my yarn off to the side because I do have cats, and for some reason they like to eat yarn. Which, when a cat eats yarn, it can end up being like a fur ball and get caught in their little tummies. Now let's cut the white, because we're working on the green. But keep that white close by, because after we're done with the green, we're going to change back over to the white yarn. I'm going to continue crocheting with the green, 44 stitches to the other end. Once I get to the other end, we'll change back over to the white and continue from there. But look how nice that's starting to look. See, the edges are nice and clean. No strings hanging out. I don't have any anxiety about, well, this will be so far the only tail that I'll have to sew in. But that's, you know, one tail here, and then at the end, your ending tail. So sewing in 2 tails is better than sewing in the many tails that it would take doing all these color changes. And I think that sometimes people avoid doing patterns with color changes because they have a dislike for weaving ends or sewing in ends. So I hope that by showing you this alternate way that I do it, if you have an aversion to weaving in ends, maybe this is something that you could pick up and try. And if you like this method, hopefully you'll continue doing it. But I'm halfway through the green now, and when I get all the way to the end, we'll come back on and continue from there. Now that we are 1 stitch away from the end of the green, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the white, place it right there. And then I'm going to insert my hook into that last white stitch. Stop when you have all 3 loops on the hook, short end of the white facing you, and pull it through. Chain 1, get the white there, pull down with the green, get it up there with the white. You know, you could probably even cut the green off right now, because we just need the white on the hook right now. One less string to have to mess with. Now insert your hook, make sure your white and green are sandwiched between your yarn that you can use for the stitch. So mine are, see, the white and green are behind this white. So we're going to just continue to finish this half double crochet. I find that 5 stitches is a good amount to do. It's 3. You do however many you want to. I like consistency. If I do 5 one time, then I'm always going to do 5. Just OCD that way. We all have our little quirks. Okay, so there's 5. I'm going to flip around to the back here. I'm going to grab that white yarn, this green yarn. I'm going to pull them snug. And then I'm going to make sure you're not cutting the white yarn that you're using. Here we go. Put those snippings away from where the cats can get to them. And then with this white yarn, we're going to do 6 rows again with this white yarn. Once I get done with the 6 rows, because that might take me a little bit to do, as you can tell, I'm not a very fast crocheter. And I don't think you want to sit there and watch me for an hour I don't know how long it's going to take me to do 6 rows. But I'm sure you don't want to sit there and watch me crochet 6 rows of white. That would be kind of like watching paint dry on the wall. Once I get done with those 6 rows of white, I'll come back on and give you the next step. I'm back with you. Now I am near the end of row 6. To help me keep track of the rows so I didn't have to keep going back and counting, I used my stitch marker. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this makes 6. Oops, and we're going to do a color change. Let me redo that one. I'm going to park that right there. Take these out. I love stitch markers, that way I don't have to keep going back, counting. Just put them in there at the end of each row. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the red. And then we're just going to repeat this pattern, the red, the white, and the green. So take your short end of your red, pull it through, and chain 1. Just like before, we're going to take the red thread and the white thread. We're going to cut the white off right there. That worked pretty good the last time we did that. So we've got both the red and the white held together. We've already done our chain 1, turn. Then we're going to start our half double crochet stitches. And make sure that you're grabbing the red and white in between. Now, while I'm doing this, I'd like to remind you, if you like the videos that I do, please give me a thumbs up. Just click on the thumbs up symbol. If you'd like to continue to get more videos from me, go ahead and click on the subscribe. It's the red link. It says the word subscribe on it. And then also, if you'd like to know when I'm uploading a new video, which I try to do one every couple of days. Our internet has been acting up and been down, up and down for the past couple days, and I didn't want to take a chance of uploading a video and it not get completed, or it was just hard to upload videos when your internet's up and down, not working properly. But we do have that situation fixed, I hope. But yeah, if you'd like to be notified, just choose to be notified by, clicking on the bell symbol. And if you know of anybody else that would like my videos, like to watch them, just go ahead and, share them, share the link. I'd be, glad to have people joining in and crocheting along with me. I'm not a very experienced crocheter, but I like to share my projects. If you have crocheted this placemat, I'm on Instagram, and if you're on Instagram, I'm Crazy Cat Lady Crochet and Crafts. Just request to follow me, and I will follow you back. If you have a YouTube channel, let me know your YouTube channel name, and I will subscribe and like your videos also. We all got to stick together and support one another. That's my motto. We got to have each other's back. All right. Right now I'm in the middle of the row of the red. Go ahead and pause this video until you get done with your row of red. And when you get done, just go ahead and hit play again, and we'll do the color change over to white together. But look at this. I mean, nice clean edges, no ends sticking out saying, weave me in, weave me in. The only one so far is the beginning tail. And I can deal with that. There'll be one here and one at the end when we get done doing our border. So weaving in 2 tails is a whole lot better than the 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, and another 6. So two tails to weave in. That's great. Now we're at the last stitch of the red row. I've got my white yarn right here. The short end is facing me. So I'm going to loop that over my hook and then pull it through. We're going to chain 1. Snug up those yarns. And then let's go ahead and clip the red. Toss it over to the side there. And grab the white yarn and the red yarn. Kind of sandwich those together. Just hanging on to them. Turn your work. And then do your half double crochets. There's the 5th one. There we go. Now we're going to continue down the row with this white yarn. go ahead and pause the video. When you get done with your row of white half double crochets, go ahead and hit play again, and I'll do the color change to green with you. We are now almost at the end of the white row. Getting ready to do the color change over to green. So there we got our last stitch. Pull out the green yarn. Have the short end facing me. Loop it over the hook. Pull through. Chain one, and bring the green up, tighten up the white, snip that white yarn off. Keep it close, because after the green we're going to do white again. Make sure your green and white yarn tails are sandwiched between your working yarn. It's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oops. Let's try that again. Alright, there's 5 stitches. Let's go ahead and pull them nice and snug. Be careful you don't get your working yarn caught up in there. So if you cut your project, that's terrible. It's heartbreaking. I've done it once. One time. After that, I learned to eyeball it a lot closer, but sometimes accidents happen. Now we're going to crochet down to the other end with the green and go ahead and pause the video. Do 44 half double crochet stitches, and then I'll be back on. I'll come back to do the color change to white. For the next white section, we're going to do 8 rows instead of 6. But I'll walk you through that as soon as I get this green row completed. And if you have any stitch markers, you might want to grab them, because if you're like me, have a hard time keeping up with how many rows. Now we're ready to change over to the color white again. So we've got the short tail facing us. Loop around the hook. Pull through. Come on, little buddy. You gotta get through that loop. Now we're going to chain 1. We're going to bring the white tail up. And then the green tail. We're going to cut it off. Then put the green over there. So we've got white on the hook. Then we got the white tail and the green tail. We've already single crocheted once, so we're going to turn our work now. And if you're wondering about this tape on the sides, that's so I know where to put my work, because I noticed it was getting out of the view. So that's kind of just a marker for me. Alright, so got your green and white in your thumb there. Let's go ahead and do our half double crochet. Make sure that the tails are sandwiched between the hook and your working yarn. That's 3, 4, 5, 6. Snug them up. Just put them nice and snug. Clip them. Make sure your project's not in there or the working yarn. Snip it off. Put it aside so the cats don't eat it. And then we're going to half double crochet all the way to the end. And for this portion of white, we're going to do 8 rows. So go ahead and pause the video. Do 8 rows of 44 half double crochet stitches. Once you complete the 8 rows, go ahead and hit play again. The next color chain that we're going to do is we're going to go backwards now. We're going to do, since we're going to be on the other side, let me get this one up here. See, this is the 8 rows. So since we're going to be on the other side, we're going to do green, white, red, white. Green, white, red, white. So once we get done with the 8 rows, then we're going to change over to green. And then we're going to do this pattern. So when you get done with your 8 rows, hit play again and we'll do the color change together. Here we are at the end of the 8th row of white half double crochets. As you can see, I've got my stitch markers in place, so that kept me from having to stop and count. And this will be the last stitch. Get on in there. There. Okay, so before we start the color change, let's go ahead and take out the stitch markers. There's 3 on that side. I didn't mark the 8th one because I'm just at the end of the 8th row. You can get these pretty cheap. You get 100 of them like $8 on Amazon or something like that. Or sometimes if you order yarn through certain companies, they just send them to you as a free gift. Those are the 2 ways that I acquired those stitch markers. If you don't have stitch markers, you can always cut off a piece of yarn and hook it through, or you could use a safety pin, bread tie, anything that you can put in and take out easily. Makes a good stitch marker. So we've got our green, the working yarn short tail toward us. We pulled it through and we're going to do a stitch 1. And we're going to cut the white tail. Keep that white close, because after the green row we're going to do white again. And we're going to bring the green and the white around. There we go. Now we're going to do our half double crochets. And we're just going to, just like in the rows past, we're going to do 1 row of green, 1 row of white, and then 1 row of red. After the red row, then we're going to do 6 rows of green, and then pick up the stripes again, and then another 6 rows of green, and then we're done. Then it'll be done. It's not a complicated item to make. I'm all about easy, because crocheting is just a hobby for me, so I don't want my hobbies to be hard or aggravating. I want something that I enjoy, because if it doesn't bring me joy, then I've got a lot of money tied up in yarn and stuff. What other hobbies do you have that bring you joy? I also do watercolor painting. I have made jewelry. I just like crafts in general. And I'm bad to swap out from one thing to another. I made face shields at the beginning of the pandemic and sold some and gave some away. I would rather give them away than sell them, but sometimes the people that I was giving them to offered money. No, I don't want your money, but they insisted, so I was just more about making sure people had a way to protect themselves that couldn't wear a face mask. Some people are high risk and can't wear face masks, so I made face shields for them. And so far, since I've been crocheting this time around, I've made both granddaughters hats, both granddaughters a sweater for each of them. just like making stuff and giving it to friends and family. So we're past the middle mark of the green. We'll just keep going. I just washed my hands a little bit ago and the yarn's kind of sticking to my finger. I think it's gonna rub it raw. Might need to put a piece of tape or something around that. For some reason, this green yarn is rough. The white and the red aren't so bad, but this green yarn is like, I don't know if it's just a batch or it's like running sandpaper across my fingers. Good thing the main color of this placemat isn't green. But the white and the red are, you know, it's 100% cotton, but it's soft. It's as soft as it can be. Alright, well, need to do the color change. So let's bring the white back over here. So we're gonna change over to white. Just pull it through the green loops. Pull the white up. Chain one. Pull the green up. Snip it off. Okay, now we don't need the green for a little while. So we'll just toss it aside. It's starting to look like something now. Go. That first one, trying to work with all those yarns, can be a little bit challenging. But after that, if you get it all in place, it's easier. One more time. Then we'll flip it around. Make sure they're pulled snug. Oh, don't want to get that white yarn. Ooh, that was close. Now see, this white yarn just glides over my finger. I can go a little bit faster with it. That green stuff. Alright, so we're going to do the white to the end. Go ahead and put this video on pause, and when you get done crocheting your row of white. Click play again and we'll do the color change to red. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. Now let's do the color change to red. The more times you do this, the easier it gets. That's what I have found. Get the red and the white up there. Now let's start the red row, making sure our yarns are in the proper place, sandwiched between the hook and the working yarn. Two. Three. 4 and 5. Pull those snug. There we go. Oh. Now we're going to do a row of red. And after this row of red, we're going to do 6 rows of white. We're just repeating this half over here. So go ahead at this time, pause your video, complete the row of red half double crochets. Remember, it's going to be 44 stitches. And once you get that done, we'll go ahead and do the color change back over to white. And here we are. We're going to change over to white again. I completed the stitch before doing the change color. Let's fish my hook back through that. I'm going to cut that part off. A little bit frayed. Be easier to work with if it's a fresh cut. Let's pull that white on through. There we go. Chain 1. Bring the white and red up. Snippy snip. Put the red aside. everybody in place. Okay. Hooked up on something in there. There we go. Sometimes the yarn gets a little bit frayed on the inside. One, two, three. 4. 5. Snip. Now for this white row, oops. Okay. For this white row, we're going to do 6 rows of white. We are about 3/4 of the way completed. Go ahead and put your video on pause. We'll crochet the 6 rows of white, and when we get done with the white, we're going to do green, white, then red again. We're going to do green, white, red, and then another portion of the 6 rows of white, and that'll be done. So go ahead and pause your video. Just crochet the 6 rows of white, and we're almost finished. Okay, here we are at the end of row 6 for the white. As you can see, I've got my stitch markers in. And the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to change over to the green yarn. So let me go ahead and get these stitch markers out of the side. Stitch markers are a great way to keep track of how many rows you've crocheted and other things, but if you stop, all you have to do is count the stitch markers instead of trying to count each row. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the yarn over to green. I remember I said the green was rough on my finger, so I put a piece of tape over my finger so it won't be cut into my finger. This is the only one that's rough like that. Just loop your green yarn over the hook, short end towards you. And then pull through. Chain 1. Bring the excess yarn up. Cut the white off right there. leave the white close by. So we're going to change over to it after the green again. Let's put you up there. Okay, so we've got the yarns that we want to carry right there. We've already chained one. Now we're going to flip the work. And then we're going to do 44 half double crochets across. For the first 5 stitches, we're going to be working in the tails. After 5 stitches, I just cut them off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. See how nice it looks? Let's snug those down. Cut them off. And then we're going to continue doing the half double crochets all the way to the end. After we get done with the green, we will change over to the white again. So go ahead and pause the video right here. And when you get done with your green row, hit play again, and we'll do the white color change together. Now we are ready to go from the green to the white. I've got the white hooked over the hook, the short end facing me. So I'm just going to pull through, chain 1, get the green and yarn and the white tail up here, snip the green off, and we're not going to use that again. It's the last time we're going to use green for this placemat. Turn our work. Try to get these yarns separated here so I don't get the wrong one. Tied in. There we go. And snug that down. Make sure your tails are the front of the hook, and then do your half double crochet, and we're going to do 5. So 1, 2, oopsie, pulled too hard. Let's try that again. 3, 4, 5. Snip the rest of these tails off. Just pull them sure you're not cutting your project or the working yarn. And then we're going to continue crocheting white. All together 44 stitches. And after this row of white, we're going to change over to red for one last time. Then after the red, we're going to do 6 rows of white. And after the white, after the 6 rows of white, we're going to slip stitch around the outside of the placemat, and then we'll be done. So right now, as I'm continuing to crochet the white, go ahead and pause the video. When we get ready to change over to red, just hit the play button. I'll be there waiting on you. Now we're ready to do the red for the last time. Just pull it through. With as many times as we've done the color change, you should be proficient at it by now. I know I've gotten better. And keep the white close by, because once we get done with the red, we will need that white one last time. We've already chained one. Turn your work. Get all the yarn tightened up, and then start. One, two, three, four, and 5. So let's snug tighten those yarns up. Cut them off. Make sure you're not cutting your working yarn in your placemat. And then continue to the end of the row with your red. After we're done with the red, we're going to change over to white. And with the white, we're going to do 6 rows. And after we do the 6 rows of white, that'll complete the placemat. Then we'll just slip stitch around the outside. So we just have 6 more rows of white to go after the red. If I ever get done with the red. There we go. So go ahead and hit pause. Finish up your row of red. And when you get ready to change over to white, hit the play button. And I'll be there waiting on you. So we have completed the last row of the red, and we've got our white set up on the hook. Let's go ahead and pull it through. Get your white up there and your red. Chain one with the white. And then make your red yarn as long as your white yarn. Snip that off. We're not going to use red anymore on this placemat, unless you want to. Grab hold of the red and the white. Turn your work. Then we're going to crochet in the tails. So we've already wrapped the yarn around the hook. And we're going to start our half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull those 2 yarns tight. Make sure you're not cutting your working yarn in your placemat. Now we're gonna, with the white yarn, we're going to crochet 6 rows, 44 half double crochets in each row. At the beginning of each row, chain 1. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And as you can see, I've got my stitch markers. Got 6 of them. So when you get done with your 6 rows of white, I'll be back here and I'll show you how to slip stitch around your placemat. I'm going to pause the video now and you continue with your 6 rows. So I have finished up 6 rows of the white, and here is the lovely Jody. She just likes being under all these lights. Come on, Jody, you're gonna have to get down. Come on, sweetness. She wants to be a YouTube star too. Wipe out the cat hair that may be on there. Yawn out. Okay, she's it. So as I was saying, we have completed 6 rows of the white. We have done all the rows for the placemat. So what we're going to do is first we're going to take out the stitch markers. Okay. 5, So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to slip stitch around the border of the placemat. So we'll just start right here, and I'm just going to put one slip stitch in each row. Right there, right there, just each row. You get too many stitches in a row, you're going to have a wave and a bulge, and it's not going to be a smooth finish. I'm going to slip stitch down to this end of the row, and once I get to the corner, I'll show you how I do my corners. If you want to do your corners a different way. Oops, power just went out. Oh, there, come back. Oh, off. It's raining here. If you want to do your corners the same way or a different way, it's up to you. I'm going to put this on pause and see if the power will come back on shortly. So here I am at the corner, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch twice. 1, 2, and then I'm going to chain 1, turn, and then I'm going to do 2 more slip stitches. 1 and 2. And then continue on. Pull that out. And I myself like the way that that corner looks. If you have a different way that you want to do your corner, by all means, do it your way. But I thought I would just share that with you. So, I'm going to continue to slip stitch around the outside of the placemat. At the ends, the top end and the bottom end, I'm just going to hit like every other stitch so I don't get any waves. And when I get done slip stitching all the way around the placemat, I'll go ahead and come back on. Okay, the lights are back on permanently, I hope. And we have completed the last corner, tied it off, and I've got my yarn needle. I'll put the yarn through the eye. And then we're just going to sew in the end. And however you do this, you do it your way. This is my way of doing it. I have to go back and forth a few times. Now, do a little knot. We'll just have to insert it manually. There wasn't enough yarn on the needle to do that. Just pull that tight. Snip it off. So let's get a look at this. And after we block it, it'll be nice and smooth and even. There we go. So there's your Christmas placemat. I'll have the instructions in the description. You can also use this pattern for different colors instead of red, white, and green. Maybe for the 4th of July you could do red, white, and blue. Or just maybe you want to use the colors that accent your kitchen and dining room. But yeah, the instructions will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please click on the like button. If you'd like to see more videos from me, please subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified of when I'm uploading new videos, please click on the notification bell. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for spending this time with me. Bye.